The Galactic Plea. The vast emptiness of space shattered as the Araxian diplomatic vessel tore through the fabric of reality, its quantum engines screaming in protest. The ship, once a gleaming testament to Araxian technological superiority, now bore the scars of desperate flight. Its hull punctured in multiple places, emergency force fields barely containing the atmosphere within. On the command deck, High Emissary Velix watched the blue-green world grow larger on the main view screen. Earth, their last hope. The emissary's translucent skin had dulled from its normal lustrous azure to a sickly gray, a physical manifestation of the burden of responsibility. "We've been detected," announced Navigator Trill, her voice resonating through the ship's telepathic network. "Primitive electromagnetic scanning systems. Their military vessels are moving to intercept." Velix nodded, four eyes blinking in rapid succession. "Make no evasive maneuvers. Broadcast universal peace signals on all frequencies. We must appear as non-threatening as possible." The Araxian civilization had reached the stars 10,000 years before humans discovered fire. They had built wonders across 12 star systems, mastered gravity manipulation, quantum engineering, and telepathic communication networks. Their philosophers had long theorized that their technological plateau represented the pinnacle of possible achievement. No species could advance further without transcending physical form. That complacency had cost them everything when the Void Scourge arrived. 2 Earth years earlier, the first Scourge ships had appeared at the edge of Araxian space, organic metallic hybrids that seemed to consume energy and matter indiscriminately. The Araxians had sent peaceful delegations, believing as they always had that intelligence equated to benevolence. Those delegations never returned. Within months, 3 of their colony worlds had gone silent. The Araxian defense fleet, designed more for ceremony than warfare, had been annihilated in the first major engagement. Their grand civilization was collapsing before an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Until Velix's predecessor had discovered an anomaly in the Scourge attack patterns. A single Araxian scout ship, damaged and limping after a skirmish, had found refuge in a seemingly unremarkable solar system. The Scourge vessels in pursuit had veered away at the system's edge, as if repelled by some invisible force. That system contained Earth. Earth's first official contact with alien life came not with a grand revelation or ceremonial meeting, but with a damaged ship and a desperate plea for salvation. General Camila Santos stood in the United Nations Emergency Assembly as the holographic recording of the Araxian message played for the 3rd time. "People of Earth," the alien being said, its voice translated through sophisticated algorithms. "We come seeking asylum and alliance. An implacable enemy threatens not just our civilization, but all sentient life. Our technology could not stop them, but something about your world, your species, your system, it deters them. Help us understand why. Help us survive." The assembly erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted over each other, demanding actions ranging from immediate military mobilization to isolationist protection of Earth's interests. Silence. Santa's voice cut through the cacophony. The chamber quieted as she stepped forward. At 53, with streaks of gray in her dark hair, Santos carried the authority of someone who had dedicated her life to defending humanity. "We have verified the Araxian ship's damage is genuine. Their technological capabilities far exceed our own. If this is a deception, it's an elaborate one with no discernible purpose. What could we possibly offer a civilization thousands of years more advanced than our own?" asked the representative from Japan. Santos nodded to Dr. Ileana Chen, Earth's foremost xenobiologist, who took the podium. "That's the fascinating question. The Araxians have technologies we can barely comprehend, but they've developed along extremely specialized lines. They mastered quantum mechanics but never developed nuclear weapons. They achieved faster than light travel but lack basic ballistic missile technology. They evolved telepathic communication, but their understanding of electromagnetic radiation is surprisingly limited." "So they're peaceful," the French representative interjected. "And we're not. Is that what makes us special? Perhaps, Chen replied, but I believe it's something more fundamental. The Araxians evolved in an environment with minimal radiation, stable geology, and without the constant evolutionary arms race that shaped Earth's biosphere. They never needed to develop certain sciences because their survival never depended on it. The debate continued for days. While politicians argued, scientists worked. Earth's finest minds collaborated with the Araxian delegation, sharing information, comparing technologies, searching for the answer to why the scourge avoided Earth. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Marcus Washington, a geologist specializing in Earth's magnetic field, identified an interaction between solar radiation, Earth's magnetosphere, and certain rare isotopes found in humanity's nuclear arsenal. Together, they created a unique electromagnetic signature, a signature that disrupted the quantum navigation systems the Void Scourge used. It's like we've been living in a lighthouse all along, Dr. Washington explained to the UN Assembly, broadcasting a warning signal we didn't even know we were generating. Within months, Earth's scientists and engineers, working alongside Araxian specialists, developed what they called Terran disruption arrays. The devices amplified the natural electromagnetic signature that repelled the scourge, creating defensive bubbles that could protect spacecraft and installations. But Velix brought troubling news. The scourge are adapting. Each time they encounter our defenses, they evolve new countermeasures. Your signature deters them temporarily, but they're learning to bypass it. We need a more permanent solution. General Santos surveyed the room. Then we bring the fight to them. The Araxians provide the transportation. We provide the punch. You don't understand. Velix's translator conveyed the aliens' distress. Our species has never developed weapons of mass destruction. The concept is abhorrent to us. Well, Santos replied with a grim smile, that's one area where humanity has an unfortunate expertise. Operation Lighthouse launched 6 months later. A fleet of 20 Araxian vessels, modified to accommodate human crews and weapons systems, departed for the nearest scourge-occupied system. Each carried a payload of nuclear-enhanced Terran disruption bombs, designed not just to repel the scourge, but to shatter their neural networks. Captain Maya Rivera commanded the lead assault vessel, the rechristened HFY Defiance. As a veteran of counterinsurgency operations in the resource wars, Rivera understood asymmetric warfare, how a technologically inferior force could defeat a superior one through unconventional tactics. The Scourge have never encountered an enemy that fights back effectively, she told her mixed human Araxian crew during the final briefing. They grown complacent. We'll use that against them. The Araxian navigator, Krell, tilted his elongated head. Your species approaches war differently than ours. There is creativity in your destruction. Rivera studied the alien's expression, trying to determine if the statement contained judgment. We evolved as predators on a hostile world, Krell. Every innovation humans have ever made came from one of two drives: to avoid death or to cause it. It's not pretty, but today, it might save your people. The first engagement above the colony world of Araxis Prime shocked both species. The Scourge, expecting the usual ineffective Araxian defense, encountered devastating nuclear detonations precisely calibrated to disrupt their neural networks. Human tactical officers, accustomed to thinking in 3 dimensions thanks to submarine warfare doctrine, outmaneuvered the Scourge vessels that had always faced predictable, straightforward opponents. When the radiation cleared, 17 Scourge vessels had been destroyed. The human Araxian fleet had lost just 3 ships. How is this possible? Krell asked as the Defiance regrouped with the remaining fleet. The Scourge have decimated our most advanced defense systems for 2 years. Captain Rivera pulled up tactical displays showing the battle's progression. Your people approach problems sequentially, looking for optimal solutions. We approach them chaotically, trying everything until something works. Against an adaptive enemy, chaos is sometimes the best strategy. As the fleet prepared for its next engagement, Earth's scientists made another discovery. The Scourge weren't just adapting, they were learning. Each encounter with human tactics made them more formidable. The war was evolving into a race between Scourge adaptation and human innovation, with the fate of two civilizations hanging in the balance. The cosmic revelation. Deep within the secure research facility beneath Geneva, Dr. Ileana Chen stared at the holographic model rotating before her. The specimen, a fragment of a void Scourge vessel recovered during the Battle of Araxes Prime, pulsed with faint energy signatures despite being separated from its host ship for weeks. "It's still alive," she murmured to the Araxian scientist beside her. Zenith, the foremost biophysicist among the Araxian refugees, extended a slender appendage toward the specimen without touching it. "Not alive in the conventional sense, but yes, it maintains a form of quantum coherence independent of its original structure. Like a neuron removed from a brain," Chen suggested, "still capable of firing but disconnected from the network." Their research had progressed rapidly over the 3 months since Operation Lighthouse's initial success. The combined human Araxian fleet had secured 2 star systems and destroyed over 50 Scourge vessels, but the enemy was adapting with alarming speed. Each encounter became more difficult than the last, with the Scourge developing countermeasures to human tactics faster than new strategies could be implemented. Chen had begun to suspect something crucial about their enemy, a theory so unsettling she had hesitated to share it with military command. But the evidence before her confirmed her fears. "They're not ships," she said finally. "The Scourge. They're not a fleet of individual vessels. They're a single entity, quantum entangled across vast distances. Each ship is more like an appendage." Zenith's 4 eyes widened. "A colonial organism on a cosmic scale." "Precisely. That's why they adapt so quickly. Every encounter with our forces is instantly shared across their entire network, and why conventional weapons become increasingly ineffective. They're learning from each damage pattern." The implications were staggering. They weren't fighting a war against an invading force. They were fighting something more akin to an immune response from a vast organism that perceived other technological civilizations as threats or competitors. When Chen presented her findings to the Joint Human-Araxian Command, General Santos immediately grasped the strategic implications. If they're a single entity, they must have a central nexus, a brain, for lack of a better term. "Theoretically, yes," Chen confirmed. "But finding it would require mapping quantum entanglement patterns across multiple star systems. We don't have the technology." High Emissary Galactic, who had remained on Earth as the Araxian diplomatic representative, spoke up. "We do. Our quantum observation arrays were designed to study cosmic phenomena across vast distances. We could repurpose them. Even if we locate this nexus," Captain Rivera pointed out via holographic link from the Defiance, "how do we strike it? The Scourge are already adapting to our nuclear-enhanced disruption weapons." An uncomfortable silence fell over the command center. Then, from the back of the room, Dr. Marcus Washington cleared his throat. The geologist had been quietly working on theoretical applications of his magnetosphere research. "We don't need a bigger bomb," he said, approaching the central display. "We need to change the fundamental rules of engagement." Washington explained his theory. The Scourge's quantum entanglement network operated on principles similar to Earth's quantum computing experiments, but on a cosmic scale. Such networks were notoriously vulnerable to decoherence, the collapse of quantum states into classical ones. If we could force a massive decoherence event at their nexus, he proposed, it would cascade through their entire network, like severing the connection between a brain and its body. "And how exactly do we cause quantum decoherence on a stellar scale?" Rivera asked skeptically. Washington smiled. "With the most unlikely weapon, mathematics." The plan that emerged was audacious to the point of insanity. Using modified Araxian observation technology, they located what appeared to be the Scourge Nexus, a massive structure orbiting a neutron star at the edge of charted space. To reach it would require a suicide mission through heavily defended Scourge territory. The weapon itself was even more improbable. A quantum algorithm designed to force contradictory calculations through the Scourge's entangled network, causing catastrophic decoherence. It would be delivered via a specially designed probe that would mimic Scourge communication protocols, inserting the algorithm directly into their quantum network. It's a virus, Rivera realized during the briefing. We're developing a computer virus to infect a cosmic entity. Yes, Washington acknowledged. But we only get one shot. Once deployed, the Scourge will recognize the attack and adapt. If it fails, we'll never get another opportunity. General Santos surveyed the assembled team. Then we make sure it doesn't fail. Captain Rivera, you'll command the insertion mission. Take the Defiance and 3 additional vessels. Enough firepower to punch through their defenses, small enough to avoid early detection. Rivera nodded grimly. The mortality projections for the mission hovered around 90%, but no one mentioned this aloud. As preparations advanced, an unexpected development arose. The Araxians, inspired by human adaptability, began modifying their own technology in ways their culture had never considered before. Centuries of technological stagnation gave way to a renaissance of innovation. Your people have changed us, Velix told Santos privately. For millennia, we believed we had reached the pinnacle of development. Now we understand that complacency, not capability, was our limitation. Santos regarded the alien diplomat thoughtfully. Perhaps that's what truly repelled the Scourge from Earth initially. Not our electromagnetic signature, but our unpredictability, our refusal to accept limitations. The mission launched 2 weeks later. 4 vessels, 2 human-commanded, 2 Araxian, slipped into quantum transit toward the Scourge Nexus. The journey would take 17 days, during which time the rest of the fleet would launch diversionary attacks across Scourge territory. Aboard the Defiance, Captain Rivera reviewed the mission parameters one final time with her executive officer, Commander Thomas Reyes. Once we deploy the decoherence probe, we'll have approximately 3 minutes to clear the blast radius, she explained. The resulting quantum cascade will destroy everything within half a light minute. Reyes nodded solemnly. And if the engines are damaged during the approach? Rivera met his gaze directly. Then we complete the mission anyway. The approach to the Nexus proved even more harrowing than anticipated. The Scourge had layered defenses around their central structure, including phenomena the scientists hadn't predicted, spatial distortions that bent weapon trajectories and temporal anomalies that disrupted targeting systems. 2 of the escort vessels were destroyed within minutes of engagement. The Defiance suffered critical damage to its propulsion systems, leaving it capable of only minimal maneuvering. The remaining Araxian ship, commanded by Navigator Krell, now Captain Krell after absorbing human military concepts, provided covering fire as the Defiance limped toward deployment range. We're not going to make it out of the blast radius, Reyes reported grimly as alarms blared across the command deck. Rivera studied the tactical display. Krell can still escape if we provide a distraction. Helm, on my mark. Divert all remaining power to forward thrusters and point us directly at the Nexus structure. Captain, the helmsman's voice faltered. We're delivering this package personally, Rivera clarified. Prepare for ramming speed. As the Defiance accelerated toward the massive Scourge Nexus, Rivera opened a channel to the Araxian vessel. Captain Krell, the decoherence probe is armed, and we're delivering it directly. Clear the blast radius immediately. That's an order. A moment of silence, then Krell's voice came through, bearing an emotion the translation software couldn't quite capture. Your sacrifice honors both our peoples, Captain Rivera. Your name will be remembered among the stars. The Defiance's damaged hull screamed under the strain of acceleration. Rivera watched the approaching Nexus structure grow larger on the view screen, an impossible geometry of organic metal and pulsing energy that housed the consciousness of humanity's greatest adversary. Impact in 10 seconds, the helmsman announced. Rivera closed her eyes briefly. Send the final transmission to Earth. Tell them we figured it out. The Defiance plunged into the heart of the Scourge Nexus, the decoherence probe activating on impact. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to stutter as quantum states collapsed across the structure. The effect cascaded outward at the speed of light. Across 12 star systems, Scourge vessels suddenly lost coherence, their impossible geometries dissolving into random matter as the quantum network that defined them collapsed. On Earth, the monitoring stations recorded the event as a massive surge of quantum activity followed by complete silence. For several tense hours, no one knew if the mission had succeeded or if the Scourge had simply adapted again and were regrouping for a final assault. The answer came 3 days later, when the surviving Araxian vessel emerged from quantum transit near Earth. Captain Krell's message was brief but historic. The Scourge are gone. Captain Rivera's sacrifice saved us all. In the months that followed, joint human-Araxian exploration teams cautiously investigated former Scourge territories. They found no signs of the enemy's return, only the scattered remains of their once fearsome vessels, now inert matter without the quantum coherence that had given them form and purpose. A new galactic order began to take shape. The Araxians, forever changed by their encounter with humanity, abandoned their technological complacency. Humans, now with access to advanced alien science, accelerated their development while contributing their unique adaptability and creative problem-solving. Other spacefaring civilizations, previously hidden or isolationist, emerged to establish relations with the species that had defeated the Scourge. Many admitted they had detected the threat, but chosen to hide rather than fight, assuming resistance was futile. 1 year after the final battle, at the dedication of a memorial to those lost in the conflict, High Emissary Villex addressed a gathering of representatives from 23 species. "We came to Earth begging for salvation," the Araxian diplomat said, voice resonating through the translation network. "We expected protection, perhaps shelter. What we never expected was that humans would not only save us but transform our understanding of what is possible." General Santos, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the nascent Galactic Concord, stepped forward to stand beside Velex. "Humanity has always been defined by our response to adversity," she said. "We don't accept inevitable defeat. We innovate. We adapt, we overcome. Those qualities saved us as we evolved on a harsh world, and now they've proven their value among the stars." As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Chen approached Santos privately. "The quantum observations from the Nexus site revealed something interesting," she said quietly. "The Scourge, they weren't the first of their kind. There are quantum echoes suggesting similar entities have risen and fallen across cosmic history." Santos considered this information gravely. "You think there will be others?" "Eventually, yes. The universe seems to naturally generate such phenomena when conditions are right." The general nodded slowly, looking up at the stars now visible in the evening sky. "Then we'll be ready. And next time, we won't wait for them to find us." Across the galaxy, a new understanding spread among technological civilizations. The species from the insignificant blue planet, barely space-capable by most standards, had succeeded where ancient powers had failed. Not through overwhelming technology or numbers, but through their defining characteristic: the refusal to accept defeat as inevitable, even against a cosmic adversary. In countless alien academies and institutions, a new field of study emerged: human adaptability. The quality that had once been dismissed as primitive stubbornness was now recognized as perhaps the most valuable trait a species could possess among the stars. The age of humanity had begun, not through conquest or technological superiority, but through the simple, powerful truth that had driven human progress since the first primates stood upright on the African savanna. Where there's a will, there's a way.